stop whatever you're doing right at this moment. I'm not saying this just for dramatic effect. I'm saying it because what I'm about to reveal over the next several minutes could very well be the single most critical health information you will come across all year long. My name is Dr. Nathan Carter, and for more than 2 decades I have worked in the field of oncology, studying cancer, treating individuals with cancer, and chasing one relentless question. Why do some people develop cancer after the age of 50, while others never do, even when they seem similar in so many ways? After all those years of research, after poring over countless studies, after those late-night conversations with patients at 2 a.m. in hospital hallways, the answer I discovered is not locked inside a prescription bottle. It doesn't call for surgery. It won't cost you a single penny. And yet, the vast majority of doctors will never sit you down and explain it. Not because they don't understand it, but because our entire medical system is built around stepping in after diagnosis. Treatment, not true prevention. That changes today, right here, right now. I'm going to walk you through the findings of a landmark Harvard study that followed more than 116,000 adults for 28 years. That research confirmed that certain habits can reduce your overall cancer risk by up to 61% after the age of 50. 61%, and I'm going to hand you the exact daily practices that produce that outcome, ranked from powerfully effective to truly transformational. But there's something you need to understand immediately. The number one habit on this list is something that 90% of people over the age of 60 are doing completely wrong, and simply correcting that single error could slash your cancer risk nearly in half all by itself. So please don't skip ahead. The order I present these in is intentional. Each layer builds upon the one before. Let's get started. Before I go any further, I want to ask you something personal. Down in the comment section below, let me know your age and give me an honest answer. Has any doctor ever actually sat with you and talked about cancer prevention? Not early detection, not treatment, but genuine, proactive prevention? I personally read every comment on this channel. Your responses shape the topics I cover next. Now, let's dive in. Let's begin with something that almost everyone brushes off as too simple to possibly matter, and that dismissal might very well be costing people their lives. I'm talking about morning hydration, specifically drinking 16 to 20 ounces of cold or room temperature filtered water the very moment your feet hit the floor, before your coffee, before you check your phone, before anything else enters your body. Now, I already hear what you're thinking. Dr. Carter, water? That's the great health secret? Stay with me, because the biology behind this is genuinely remarkable. After you turn 55, something called interoceptive thirst sensitivity begins to decline. That's the medical term for your brain becoming progressively worse at recognizing when you're actually thirsty. A 2019 study from the University of Barcelona discovered that adults over 60 are chronically functioning at 8 to 12% below optimal cellular hydration, without ever feeling thirsty. They walk around dehydrated every single day and have no clue. Now, here's why this specifically matters for cancer. Your lymphatic system, think of it as your body's internal garbage truck, responsible for collecting damaged DNA fragments, cellular waste, and precancerous debris, runs almost entirely on water. When you're consistently dehydrated, that garbage truck slows to a crawl. Damaged cells start piling up, inflammation rises, and chronic low-grade inflammation is now understood by oncologists as one of the primary engines driving cancer initiation, especially colorectal, bladder, and kidney cancers. The Harvard Nurses' Health Study found that women who drank more than 5 glasses of water each day had a 45% lower risk of colon cancer compared to those who drank 2 glasses or fewer. That's astonishing for something that costs nothing at all. Every single morning, keep a 20-ounce glass of filtered water on your nightstand. The instant you wake up, drink all of it. Add a squeeze of fresh lemon if you enjoy it. The D-limonene in lemon peel has its own documented anti-tumor properties. That's your foundation. Everything else we build will rest on this. Now, let's talk about food. Specifically, a food that has been consumed for thousands of years across the longest living populations on Earth. It was dismissed for decades by Western medicine, and now it's the subject of more than 200 peer-reviewed studies on cancer prevention. I'm talking about fermented foods. Naturally fermented options like plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso. In 2021, a groundbreaking study from Stanford University School of Medicine, published in the journal Cell, found that adults who followed a diet rich in fermented foods showed dramatically increased microbiome diversity and a measurable drop in 19 specific inflammatory proteins, several of which are directly linked to cancer progression. But here's what makes this especially crucial after age 50. As we grow older, something called intestinal permeability increases. Your gut lining literally becomes more porous. This allows bacterial toxins to leak into your bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation that acts almost like fertilizer for precancerous cells. Picture your gut as a fortress wall. Fermented foods are the repair crew that keeps that wall sealed and strong. I once had a patient, I'll call her Amara, 67 years old, a retired teacher, who came to me with chronically elevated inflammatory markers and a strong family history of colorectal cancer. Her diet was actually quite healthy in most ways, but she had 0 fermented foods. We added 2 servings daily, morning kefir and a small side of sauerkraut at lunch. Within 90 days, her C-reactive protein levels, a key inflammation marker I follow closely in cancer risk patients, dropped by 38%. Her gastroenterologist called me personally, amazed. The mechanism works through compounds called short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, which are produced when beneficial gut bacteria ferment fiber. Butyrate literally signals precancerous cells in the colon to self-destruct before they can cause harm. Think of butyrate like a quiet security guard who escorts troublemakers out before any damage is done. Aim for 1 to 2 servings of naturally fermented food per day and make sure the label says live and active cultures, because pasteurized products have had the beneficial bacteria cooked away, which defeats the entire purpose. Now we arrive at the habit that I believe every physician should be prescribing, yet almost none do. And the way I'm going to explain it to you today is different from anything you've heard before. Most people have heard that exercise is good for them. What they haven't heard is why it is specifically lethal to cancer cells. I'm talking about daily walking, but not just any walking. What researchers now call metabolic walking. The difference between a gentle stroll and metabolic walking could literally be the difference between feeding cancer and starving it. Here's the biology. Your body has 2 primary fuel systems, glucose and oxygen. Cancer cells, due to a fundamental quirk in their metabolism first described by Nobel laureate Otto Warburg in 1931 and confirmed by hundreds of studies since, are almost exclusively dependent on glucose. They are genuinely terrible at using oxygen for energy. That means when you engage in sustained, moderate-intensity walking, the kind that elevates your heart rate to about 55% of your maximum, you do 2 extraordinary things at once. You deplete circulating blood glucose, starving cancer cells of their preferred fuel, and you flood your tissues with oxygenated blood, creating a biological environment that is actively hostile to cancer cell survival. A 2020 meta-analysis from the American Cancer Society, reviewing data from 1.4 million adults, found that regular moderate physical activity was associated with a 42% reduction in colon cancer risk, a 38% reduction in breast cancer risk, and a 27% reduction in lung cancer risk, even in non-smokers. These are extraordinary numbers and no prescription pad is required. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call James, 72 years old, a retired engineer from Lahore. He came to me 3 years ago after a precancerous polyp was removed during a routine colonoscopy. He was frightened. He was sedentary. We started him on a simple morning walking protocol. 35 minutes, 5 days a week before his first meal. We combined it with some dietary changes. At his 2-year follow-up colonoscopy, completely clean. His oncologist specifically noted his dramatically improved inflammatory markers and called his case exceptional. James told me, "Doctor, walking feels like medicine." He was exactly right. It literally is medicine, and it's medicine you can start dispensing to yourself tomorrow morning. Metabolic walking means 30 to 45 minutes of continuous movement at a pace where you can hold a conversation but would find it difficult to sing, 5 days a week, in the morning, before your first full meal if possible. Walking in a fasted state significantly amplifies the glucose-depleting effect, and if joint pain is a concern, swimming, cycling, and even dancing in your living room produce the same metabolic response. The key is the heart rate. The key is consistency. But the next 2 habits, these are where the science becomes genuinely revolutionary. Because what I'm about to tell you about a specific vegetable compound changed the way I counsel every patient over 50 who walks through my door. I'm talking about sulforaphane, the powerful bioactive compound found in cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and most potently of all, broccoli sprouts. In 2018, researchers at Johns Hopkins University published findings showing that sulforaphane activates something called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as the head of security for your DNA. When activated, it triggers over 200 protective genes simultaneously, genes involved in detoxification, antioxidant defense, and, critically, the repair of damaged DNA before it can mutate into cancer. Here's the aging-specific tragedy that makes this so urgent. NRF2 activity declines by approximately 40% between the ages of 50 and 70. Your DNA's own security system is quietly going off duty. Sulforaphane essentially wakes it back up and puts it back on patrol. Studies from the University of Illinois found that regular sulforaphane consumption was associated with a 52% reduction in bladder cancer risk and a 41% reduction in prostate cancer incidence. And perhaps most remarkably, researchers at the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center found that sulforaphane actually targets cancer stem cells. These are the most dangerous cancer cells of all, the ones conventional chemotherapy often fails to reach, the ones responsible for cancer coming back after treatment. Think of cancer stem cells as the generals of an army. You can defeat the soldiers, but if the generals survive, they will rebuild. Sulforaphane goes after the generals. Now, here's the critical preparation detail that most people get completely wrong. Sulforaphane is not just sitting in broccoli waiting for you. It is created through a chemical reaction that happens when you chop or chew the vegetable, which activates an enzyme called myrosinase. The problem is that cooking above 140 degrees Fahrenheit destroys this enzyme, meaning fully cooked broccoli delivers very little active sulforaphane. The correct method is this. Chop your broccoli, let it sit for 40 minutes, then lightly steam it for no more than 3 to 4 minutes. That resting period allows the protective reaction to complete before the heat disrupts the enzyme. Raw broccoli sprouts require no cooking at all and deliver up to 50 times more sulforaphane per gram than mature broccoli. Half a cup of raw broccoli sprouts daily, or 1 full cup of correctly prepared broccoli. That's your target. That's your cancer-fighting prescription from nature. And now we arrive at number 1, the single most impactful daily habit for cancer prevention after 50. And I want you to lean in here because this is the one that the research has been quietly building toward, and that most preventive health conversations never reach. I'm talking about sleep. But not just any sleep. What researchers now call oncological sleep architecture, the specific quality and timing of sleep that activates your body's most powerful internal anti-cancer system. Here's the mechanism, and it is extraordinary. During deep, slow-wave sleep, stage 3 and stage 4, Your brain activates a recently discovered waste clearance network called the glymphatic system, first described by researchers at the University of Rochester in 2013. This system uses cerebrospinal fluid to physically flush toxic proteins and cellular debris from your brain and nervous system. Think of it like a pressure wash cycle that only runs at night when the factory shuts down. But the cancer connection goes far deeper than brain health. During those same deep sleep phases, your body produces its highest concentrations of melatonin. Now, I need you to hear this. Melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It is one of the most powerful endogenous antioxidants that science has ever identified. A comprehensive review published in Cancer Research in 2021 found that melatonin directly inhibits tumor angiogenesis, meaning it physically blocks cancer from building the new blood vessels it needs to grow and spread. It also stimulates natural killer cells, the frontline soldiers of your immune system, whose specific biological job is to identify and destroy cancer cells before they can establish themselves. And here's the devastating statistic that I share with every patient over 50 who tells me they're getting by on 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Melatonin production declines by up to 70% between the ages of 40 and 70. Most people over 65 produce almost negligible amounts during sleep. Your most powerful internal anti-cancer mechanism is running at a fraction of its designed capacity. A 2019 study from the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified night shift work, which chronically disrupts sleep architecture, as a probable human carcinogen. Not a risk factor, a carcinogen, the same classification given to certain pesticides and industrial chemicals. That's how seriously the research community now views disrupted sleep in the context of cancer risk. I had a patient, I'll call her Nadia, 71 years old, a retired nurse, who was sleeping only 5 to 6 hours a night and waking frequently throughout. Her immune panel showed severely suppressed natural killer cell activity. We worked together on a sleep recalibration protocol, consistent 10 p.m. bedtime, complete darkness in the bedroom, room temperature lowered to 67 degrees, all screens off 90 minutes before bed, and a small glass of tart cherry juice at 8 p.m. for its natural melatonin precursors. Within 6 weeks, her sleep duration reached a consistent 7.5 hours. At her 3-month follow-up, her natural killer cell count had increased by 47%. Her oncology team was astonished. She told me she hadn't slept that well since she was in her 40s. Adults over 60 who consistently sleep 7 to 8.5 hours per night in dark, cool environments have cancer mortality rates up to 48% lower than those sleeping under 6 hours, according to a 20-year cohort study from the University of California, San Diego. This is not a minor lifestyle variable. This is the master switch of your immune system, and you control it. Every single night, you have the opportunity to turn it on or let it go dark. So here is your complete daily framework, built from the ground up on evidence. Start with 20 ounces of water the moment you wake. Add fermented foods once or twice daily. Walk for 30 to 45 minutes at a moderate pace, ideally in morning light. Include half a cup of raw broccoli sprouts or properly prepared broccoli at some meal during the day, and protect your sleep with the same seriousness that you would protect any prescription medication. These 5 habits are not exotic protocols. They are not expensive supplements. They are the biological conditions your body was designed to thrive in, and not one of them requires a prescription, a hospital, or a specialist's approval. They require only your decision to begin. I want to say one more thing directly to you, because I mean this from the bottom of my heart. In over 20 years of oncology, the conversations I carry with me most heavily are not from the operating room. They are from the appointments where a patient looked at me and said, "Dr. Carter, I wish I had known sooner. Why didn't anyone tell me?" You are watching this video. That means you are telling yourself something different. You are choosing to know. You are choosing to act. Your body, whatever age you are right now, whether you are 52 or 75 or anywhere in between, retains a remarkable scientifically documented capacity to heal, to defend, and to regenerate when you give it what it needs. Prevention is not passive. It is an active, daily, biological act of self-defense, and every single morning you get a fresh opportunity to begin. If this video helped you see something you hadn't seen before, please hit the like button right now. It genuinely helps this information reach more people who need it. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because every single week I break down complex health science into simple, practical information that you can actually use. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 5 habits are you starting first? And if you've had a doctor actually talk to you about cancer prevention, not just detection, tell me that story below. I read every single one. Take care of your body. It's the only one you have. And I will see you in the next video.